Good evening, everyone. I'd like to begin by humbly acknowledging the land in which we live, learn, work, and play. It's Treaty 8 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree and Dene, and unceded territory of the Métis. Before we begin, can I have someone make the motion we reconvene in public? Councillor Walkwin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the meeting reconvene in public.
Thank you. Can I have someone second that motion? Councillor Benjoko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second the motion.
And can I call for a vote? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Also, if anyone in attendance wishes to address council this evening on any of the agenda items, please register now with the Legislative Services located to the right, as I will only be calling upon those who have registered to speak. You must register prior to the start of the agenda, which time you will be speaking. Registered delegations are permitted up to 5 minutes to speak, and you must remain on topic. And before I adopt the agenda, do any of the councillors have any notice of motion to serve? Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, through the chair. My apologies when I thought I hit the send button, Jay, to your team and Mayor and Council. My apologies, because anytime I've ever served notice, you've always seen it before the meeting. So I can blame technology, but I blame myself for not doing my back check. Anyways, I, Councillor Keith McGrath, serve notice of my intent to bring forward the following motion for Council's consideration at October 25th, 2022 Council meeting. Whereas the region and the province are rebuilding from the impact of significant economic stressors over the past 6 years, and that the region has enjoyed exemplary service from the RCMP and Alberta's police service of choice, and that crime rates are improved over the long term through improving community access to mental health and addiction support services, and through the justice system reform, not through policing. And that in the spirit of Truth and Reconciliation's Commission's call to action report, police and the justice system reform must be implemented, and with the full consultation of our Indigenous communities and peoples. Therefore, the rmwb joins the 96 municipalities and stakeholder groups in a call to action of the Government of Alberta regarding the creation of a Alberta Provincial Police Service. Move that the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo joins the 96 municipalities and stakeholder groups in a call to action to the Government of Alberta regarding the creation of the Alberta Provincial Police Service. And Mayor, my colleagues, I'll speak to that in length in our next council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. Are there any other notices of motion to serve? Councillor Cardinal.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I, Kendrick Cardinal, serve notice of my intent to bring forward the following motion for Council's consideration at the October 25th, 2022 Council meeting. I move that administration be directed to research and bring forward a report for Council's consideration of recognizing the National Day of Truth, for Truth and Reconciliation, September 30th, as a general holiday for municipal employees beginning in 2023. Such report to include any implications, operational, financial, or otherwise.
Thank you, Councillor Cardinal. Are there any other notices of motion? I can have someone make the motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Councillor Grandison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the agenda be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Have someone second that motion. Councillor Walkwin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second that motion.
Thank you. And I'll call for a vote. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. And can I have someone make the motion to approve the minutes? Councillor Ball.
I move that the minutes of the council meeting held on September 27th, 2022 be approved as presented.
Thank you. Can I have someone second that motion? Councillor Grandison.
I second that motion.
And all in favor? That's again carried unanimously. We have one proclamation this evening. I'd like to declare for Poverty and Homelessness Awareness Week, which is October 17th to the 23rd. Whereas the Regional Municipality of Buffalo is committed to building a welcoming, inclusive, and resilient region. And whereas the International Day of Eradication of Poverty has been recognized throughout the world on October 17th since 1987. And whereas, according to the Poverty Reduction Network, some groups are at a higher risk of living in poverty, including children, unattached individuals, people in sole caregiver families, Indigenous peoples, peoples with disabilities, recent immigrants, refugees, ethnocultural and radicalized groups, women, and 2SL LGBTQIA+ individuals. And whereas recent historic increases in inflation and the cost of living have created additional challenges for those living in poverty. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic and other challenges has increased the need for social and mental health services in the region. And whereas the Poverty Reduction Network works to address poverty and homelessness by raising awareness through its local campaign highlighting the theme, Action Against Poverty. Now therefore, I, Sandy Bowman, Mayor of the Regional Municipality of Buffalo, do hereby proclaim October 17th to 23rd, 2022 as Poverty and Homelessness Awareness Week. Next, we have the report from the 2022 capital budget amendments. I'd like to invite Lori Farquharson, Chief Financial Officer, to introduce the report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, my name is Lori Farquharson, Chief Financial Officer. Administration is submitting 3 capital budget amendments for your consideration and approval. Council is the approving authority for the capital budget as per the provisions of the Fiscal Responsibility Policy FIN 160. There are 2 project cancellations as follows. The Father Mercredi Sports Field Scoreboard. The replacement cost was considerable, and key stakeholder engagement identified low interest in proceeding. This results in a $100,000 decrease. The South Operations Center Fleet Quonset relocation project is no longer required. Efficiencies were realized through the transit facilities Green Trip construction project, resulting in $174,000 in savings. The third project is a scope and name change for the Fort McKay Surface Infrastructure Improvement Design. This amendment request is to add the upgrade of a water main to the scope of the Surface Infrastructure Improvement Design project. In addition, the project name is amended to the Fort McKay Road South Water Line and Sidewalk Upgrade Design. No additional funding is required. These capital budget amendments will result in a decrease of $240,000 to the 20 and 22 thereafter capital budget as outlined in the budget net change summary. The full budget impact will be incorporated in the 2022 budget upon council approval. Attachments 1 through 3 illustrate this impact. Administration is recommending that the 2022 capital budget amendment as summarized on attachment 1, 2022 capital budget amendment, project amendment and cancellations dated October 11th, 2022 be approved, and the revised cash flow of capital projects is summarized on attachment 3, 2022 capital budget amendment, project amendment and cancellations, project cash flow summary dated October 11th, 2022 be approved. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have any questions from Council for Administration? Councilor McGrath?
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate the information, ma'am. And nothing has changed in the way of federal grants or provincial grants supporting these 2 projects. They're still at 0?
For the first, through the chair, there were no grants for the Father Mercredi Sports Field and the South Operations Center Fleet Quonset.
So, yeah, through the chair again. So 0, nothing came from the province or the feds.
Through the chair, I do not believe that there are. The third project scope, I would have to check on that one, but there'd be no change or impact, no.
I just see their blanks like many others, so I just want to confirm that, that's all. Appreciate the update, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McGrath. Councilor Dogar?
Sir, thank you very much for giving me the chance. Madam, I think a lot of efforts have been done on the few lines which you have spoken. I appreciate that. Always you people put a lot of input. I want to ask you one thing. Have you visited these sites? You know, there are 6 projects, capital projects. In 3, I think we are giving the money, and on 3, something is saving is going on. Have you visited these projects?
Through the chair, I believe you may be referring to the next update I'm going to provide, which is on the Q3 capital report.
I have gone through this, and you see, sir, Mr. Mayor, I want to talk to you. I asked the consultant, Mr. Cuff, also. Once on a capital project, we have to approve money in any way, whether we have to give additional money or some subsection is there. I, as a councillor, I feel we should be physically monitoring this. And they're out of 3 and 3, 6. You know, I would have been ready to go to 2 projects to see their feasibility, whether the feasibility recommended by the administration is proper or not. You know, that's what we are here. We are not only to say yes, what the administration says. I know they are doing very fine, very good. So then I asked him that I am not very clear about these, whether money is rightly spent or not. He said, if you are not clear, then you have to say yes to what administration has done. So I would request you in future, any capital expenses a week before should be circulated to the councillor, that I, as a councillor, what is in my share should go physically on ground. And you know, previously I'd been going and I had been telling, you know, these were 3 holidays, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So that is what my recommendation is for future purpose. Thank you very much, madam.
Councilor Ball?
Thank you. Through the chair. I guess my question about the Father Mercury Sports Field, 66% over, and it seems like the stakeholder, I assume that's the football team, they're not interested in it. So if it had been on budget, would we have replaced it? Like, are they not using the field anymore? Or?
Through the chair, I'm not clear on exactly the background that was provided through the stakeholder discussions. I'd have to refer to somebody from operations.
Through the chair to Councillor Ball, we did indeed engage the school and the associations. The football field itself is still used, but is used more for practice. Any type of competitive play is now at TCP.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have any other questions for administration? Do we have any other delegates to this item?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman, members of council. There's no delegates for this item.
Thank you. Can I have someone make the motion? Councilor Grandison?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the 2022 capital budget amendments as summarized on attachment 1, bracket 2022 capital budget amendment dash project amendment and cancellations dated October 11th, 2022 be approved, and that the revised cash flow of capital projects as summarized on attachment 2, bracket 2022 capital budget amendment, project amendment and cancellations, project cash flow summary dated October 11th, 2022 be approved.
Thank you. Can I have someone second that motion? Councilor Walkman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second that motion.
Thank you. Are there any other further questions of council for administration? Councilor Banjoko?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to clarify if the school is aligned with canceling the scoreboard project.
Through the chair, I will have to refer to the Director of Public Works to confirm.
Through the chair to Councillor Banjoko, Absolutely. We did consult with the school as well as the sports associations. They are aware of the cancellation of this project. They use the sports field currently for any type of practices for football. However, the football culture has kind of changed. They don't really compete between schools anymore. It's more of a single, to compete with outside sources. So what they've been doing is really using that field for practice. And when it comes to competitive play, anybody comes to Fort McMurray to compete, they use TCP, Timberlake Community Park, for their football.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Majoko. Do we have any other final questions before we move on? I'm not seeing it, so I'll call for a vote. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have a report for the 2022 Q3 capital budget fiscal amendment update. I'd like to invite Lori Farquharson to remain seated, Chief Financial Officer, to introduce the report.
Through the chair to the chair, thank you. My second presentation is to provide an update on the capital budget amendments implemented by administration within the provisions of the Fiscal Responsibility Policy FIN-160 for the third quarter ending September 30th, 2022. There are 3 capital project amendments this quarter as listed on Attachment 1, resulting in an increase of $1,130,000 to the capital budget. None of these amendments are due to scope changes, and therefore the nature and type of capital projects are not altered. The 3 capital project amendments, all of which required additional funding, are summarized as follows. The Grayling Terrace drainage construction estimate was based on one method of drilling. A more effective method of drilling was chosen, resulting in a funding shortfall of $1 million. Through the RFP process for space planning software, the compliant proponent's quote was $100,000 higher than the estimated budget. The third item was the purchase of the Conklin tanker truck replacement, which required additional funding of $30,000, which resulted from market increases in the price of steel and electronic components. Administration recommends that the 2022 Q3 capital budget fiscal amendments update as summarized on Attachment 1, 2022 capital budget fiscal amendments dated September 30th, 2022 be accepted as information. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Larry. We do have some questions from Council. Councilor McGrath?
Thank you, through the chair. I guess I can understand a bit about the space planning. Not every contractor can give you a $100,000 uplift and keep their job, but the one that really, I guess the question is, through the chair, the $1 million swing in Grayling Terrace, because they discovered a new way to drill. Those drills have been around since Jesus was a baby. But I'm just wondering, where do we, again, no federal money, no provincial money, and I think part and parcel of some of the drains is do with protecting people in Grayling Terrace. So it's not a reach, if you say. It's not a proper reach that we're building along the causeway, but it is part of flood abatement or runoff. Well, where do we get? We budget for $900,000, but now they want $2 million. If a guy's not watching this, the government is not paying a nickel. Where do we get 110% swing? The same thing that happened up in Timberlake a year ago. We're only as good as the information we get. And we sit around here this evening while people struggle to feed themselves. And I can accept this information, but before it comes back, to spend another $1 million because you found a new way to drill, I think I need some more information. And if this job is, I guess the second question, if you would, is the job been awarded? Because someone made up a budget, because I see these budgets at City Hall that we're the only place on the planet can go from 900 to 2 mil without a question. So I guess the question to the chair is the drilling or is the earthwork started for the spring runoff?
Through the chair, the contract has been awarded, I believe.
So we award the contract, and now they're looking for a $1 million change order.
Through the chair, my understanding with the original scope of work, there was a different type of drilling, but I'm going to invite somebody from the engineering branch to come up and speak to it.
I'm not going to labor.
Okay.
I'm not going to labor administration's time. I wouldn't do that to Paul. He's just getting here. But I certainly not going to support just spend another $1 million this evening. The feds are not here. The governor's not here, and I don't think that it's proper for somebody to bid a job, outfox everybody else, and then come in and give us another $1 million out the back door. It just doesn't happen that way. It only happens there. But I'm glad this wasn't mixed up in $1 million other line items, because this one I took attention to, because all I hear around this council chambers are people that design these dikes and now making fun of their own work. And $1 million to me, it can probably look after a community that's struggling right now. So I don't know if if this is just a postage stamp to say, here's what we're doing. Because it seemed to me, it's just, I'm going to accept this as information. But I think to articulate and make a move to the budget, you need our approval, because I passed this budget in the last budget cycle, but I never agreed to pay 110% more than what we budget for, because somebody outfoxed maybe a local contract. I don't know what it is, but there's nobody on the planet can tell me that a job just cost me another $1 million because I found a new way to drill. So I guess with that, Mr. Mayor, I can take it as information, but I'm certainly not going to support just another blank line this evening without the feds in the province, without some description of why we would go and balloon this another 110%. Anyways, I hope I'm being respectful, but we don't get a whole lot of information, and certainly not going to pick on the current CAO, but the guys that were around, and here he comes. I had no questions for administration. Let's be clear. Don't need any. I just say I'm not supporting. It doesn't seem like they're coming to us for a budget amendment. You're just talking about a budget amendment, but I would hope that when you come back, you'll explain why this job in Avocent is going to cost us another $1 million. Because don't forget, we were told we're going to build a dike for about $210 million downtown, and we got one piece of dike now is going to cost us $126 million.
Okay, Councilman McGrath, we'll come back to debate at the end. But
Can I
right
ask
now,
a
just
question?
questions. Yeah, you ask questions right now.
Okay, the question is, how come? Where's the money going?
Through the chair, my colleague from the engineering branch is going to explain the variance. And just, if I could back up one moment, the reason why we are able to do this as administration is the FIN-160 policy allows administration to make an approval on a budget increase if there's been no scope change.
I don't know who was around to do that, Finn, but I was told here at City Hall through the chair again that the guy hijacked us for $1.2 million because we only gave contracts out on $75,000 increments, but when they hit $74,000, what was it, $74,950, he got another one. And then we had some people that were involved, and then so you can respect the fact, ma'am, you're new, I'm new. Mm-hmm. I'm just a little cautious, but I'll wait for the man himself to. And I know that hey, we're just here. You just tell us basically you're doing it anyways. Wonderful. I don't need to hear from anybody. I don't need. All I know is that too much of this goes on, and I'll make a couple of motions next week. I promise you that we'll get better education. So thank you. I'm not going to take administration's time. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, just if I may, I think it's worthwhile for staff to be able to give an overview of why this changes and what the potential benefits are, so that council has that understanding. Whether council makes a decision around that or not, it could be based on the information, but I think it'd be useful for council and the public.
Sure. Through the chair, respected council, and through Mr. Keith McGrath, the answer to that is really a long answer, but
can you speak into your microphone there, please?
Sorry. Through the chair, respectful council, to Mr. McGrath. This project actually was intended to be designed through the method is called directional drilling. This method actually, at that time, we thought it will work according to the design, the designer actually who made the design for the project. And then when it was posted, it was in our head that it will actually work for intended purpose. However, meanwhile, we were dealing with another issue in waterways, which was a storm drain that started leaking, and we didn't know what happened. So we started doing an investigation, what happened. That storm drain was actually designed and with the method of directional drilling. And it was leaking. So then through investigation, we found that actually when you are designing for a storm drain, you shouldn't be using directional drilling method. So, and meanwhile, the project was posted. So when it was posted, engineering and consultant, we decided to change a different method, which is guided machine boring through a bore machine. So actually the new method will ensure that the grade where the storm drain is moving would be controlled by the grade will be controlled by percent of grade. Like you set it at 0.5%, would keep going and 0.5%. What it means is that because it's a storm, has to operate based on gravity. So we decided to change the method. And we went ahead and changed the posting, put amendment into the posting to say it will be basically machine guided instead of directional drilling. At that time, the truth is we did not pay attention to the cost, the implication of the cost for using that method. When the posting was closed and we received bids, we noticed one thing is that the bid was six bids. 5 of those, they were almost not equal, the same proximity, and one was not, was totally, outlier. Different. So engineering has basically 2 choices. One choice is to go and repost the project, or to ask for amendment, a budget amendment. And that's where we are today, actually, asking for budget amendment, because we feel the people who bid, they bid on, guided machine, which means they control the quality of what we will be getting, because we already have experience of bad quality in the past that we did. So this is the choice that we are here today to ask for budget to support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the information. Councilor Bajoko, you have a question?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. We've talked a lot about the increase, which is, caught everybody's attention. So my question maybe to us is there no limit to the change that can be made, and you will be telling us it's just for information alone? It's too high. And when you go to the fiscal responsibility policy criteria, this doesn't meet the criteria even by your submission. The red line says, in order for this to be a fiscal management policy amendment, the questions above must answer yes, no, yes, no. You have 4 no's and a yes. So it doesn't meet that criteria. And another part of it is currently the spend is reading 0 as at now. And I'm wondering why you are asking for this increase for this fiscal year rather than moving it to the next year. So for now, it doesn't meet the criteria, even by what is written, by what you're submitting. And you have spent 0 to date. And then why ask for that increase? So generally speaking, I looked at this and I don't get it. Just like my colleague said. So maybe if you want to explain that, or you would want to just take it back and look at it. And same applies to 6.2, see the page 26, same thing, doesn't meet the criteria under fiscal management policy amendment. So I have lots of doubts and questions about this.
Through the chair, my understanding is that this did meet the criteria. I will need to go back to the CPSC committee, which is our capital project planning committee. We review this in detail with all of my colleagues. The team does review all of these submissions. I don't know if there was an error in the paperwork, but certainly the item where Grayling Terrace and the $1 million increase was concerned, there was a great deal of discussion, which included the ICAO at the time. I do believe that it did fit the criteria. The RFP had closed and the project wanted to award the contract. That's why there's not a spend to date. So this happened, I believe, in September, the decision to provide the additional funding in order for them to proceed with the contract award.
So by this submission, it doesn't meet the criteria. So is it that there's an error which needs to be looked at, and it doesn't fit the category of you just telling us it's going to be $1 million more, even by your submission. And there has to be some sort of limit, if that percentage or whatever, but that's for a later day discussion. But I'm saying your submission right now says it doesn't meet the criteria. Did you look at the red line and the submission? So that's what I'm asking. And the increase is tough for anyone to look at, but your submission says it doesn't. So it's conflicting. It's not aligned.
Through the chair, I'll have to take it back to the team, as I mentioned, and review that, because to my understanding, it did meet the criteria.
Okay, thank you. Please, maybe you do the due diligence and get back to us. Mm-hmm. I appreciate all the good works. Thank you.
Councilor Boussier?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bowman. Through the chair to the presenters. I guess two questions, and one of them is further to Councilor McGrath. I guess at the end of the day, you don't need permission to go forward with this. You already have it in the FIN 160, so you're just telling us what you're doing, right? Okay. I guess I'm just trying to understand how the 1.1 million, I guess, or 1 million uplift in the budget, like where the efficiencies are. Like spending an additional $1 million or 110%. Like where are the cost savings, or what are the savings, or why are we doing this? What is the benefit of the residents?
I think the only benefit that I feel is the completion of this project hinging, So, Council Boussier, I think the only benefit we see is the completion of the project through the proper method, what we are doing. Now, the benefit for the residents have been complaining to the municipality, through pulse inquiries about, the flooding from the hill next to the Grayling Terrace. And we also implemented, barriers there, year after year. But still, every year we have to put berms to prevent any harm to the residents, right? That's the benefit that we are trying to fulfill our duty, basically, to protect the residents from being flooded every year.
Well, that was, through the chair, that was my second question. I mean, this has been an issue since 2017, the summer, and I'm just wondering why it's taken 7 years to come to a solution.
I really don't have answer to this at this time.
I didn't hear that. Sorry?
I don't have answer to this at this time.
Okay. So, just before you leave the seat there, what's the difference between horizontal and the other drilling?
Horizontal drilling, and most of us are familiar with
the boring, yeah.
Directional drilling, yes. Most of us are familiar with it. Basically, when you drill, you basically go down like a parabola into the ground and come up, in a hole, and that's how the pipe will be, designed. The other method, basically, the method which is through a guided machine, which is that there is basically a pilot hole, through, and the grade is always controlled. So for like a sanitary or for sanitary water or for a storm, usually you would use that machine guided.
And that's just the difference of $1 million, basically, just different equipment and I guess a different specialized personnel, maybe.
Well, according to the bids we receive, there are 5 bids there. You see that they are the same proximity, 1.8, 1.9, 1.7, whatever, $1 million.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Busia. Councilor Stroud?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman, and to engineering. Thank you for the presentation. So do these drainage problems occur more often when they're close to bodies of water such as the creek which runs by Grayling Terrace?
Most of the issues that we receive from the residents, most of the issues that we receive from the residents through the hill there. The flood that comes down the hill usually, impacts those residents on Grayling Terrace.
So is Grayling Terrace on a water plateau?
It's close to the river for sure. Yeah.
So that's, and that would definitely cause the drainage issues also. So if we keep that present system, and it will cause sagging on the on the stormwater sewer line, will that lead to breakage?
I think if it's constructed properly, it will not really experience any.
So you're saying if we leave it the way it is and not change it for the cost of $1 million, it won't. The present system will not cause the sagging, or I should say the drilling will not cause the sagging on the stormwater sewer line?
No, because if the original method used properly, it will not cause any sagging, because you have continuous grade on the pipe itself until it reaches the receiving end.
So why do you want to change the system then? You want to go from drilling to boring. Is that correct?
I think it's very hard to control the grade when it go in parabolic shape. It's very difficult. Most of the professionals we discuss with, they say usually you don't use directional drilling for sewer or storm because it's gravity driven.
Yeah, but when I read in the presentation, it said the present system will cause sagging on the stormwater sewer line. And that's why I'm asking, will that lead to breakage of the sewer lines?
You mean not the present, but the directional drilling. Now we are coming with different method where we control the grade, so.
Yeah, so you require a different method.
Yes.
So these sewer water lines won't sag and they won't break.
Will not.
Okay, and that's why you need the $1 million.
Thank you.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Stroud. Councilor McGrath?
There you go. Thank you, through the chair. Just a couple observations. I guess what you're talking about is the velocity that hits the head wall. What amazes me is that we just put a lift station in there in 2017, and all the infrastructure was exposed. But we'll come back, and you're right, ma'am. You're just letting us know we're spending another $1 million, and we're okay with that because that's the way we set ourselves up. But it seems to me, just a public statement, anytime that we do a little bit of drilling here in Fort McMurray, this is not an isolated case. Through the chair, the Timberley Expressway is a prime example. We had the bid at 11 million, and then we took the bid at 21 million, basically for the same reason. But as we go on and get educated as councillors, we're only going to make decisions as the good information in. So I think there's a perception out there that we engineer our own work. We don't. We have 4 or 5 different companies out there managing the job, and this is how we get these slips. Simple. So my observation is maybe this budget cycle, we'd be able to, my ask of administration is, let's go over the plus and minus before we go into budget. And you know exactly what a plus and minus is. And maybe that we can all get educated the same as we go into the budget cycle. And the fin, we certainly bought the fin in because we had exactly what I described earlier. We had the $75,000 thresholds that were abused blatantly. So we put some rigor in the system, but now we look at another project this evening that probably a local company might have bid, and he bid true. But when you award the work, it's easy for a contractor to come and say, hey, man, you give us another $1 million, we got a better way. So, and that's exactly what's being spelled out here. So I appreciate that you're coming and let us know that we've been had again, and that's the way I see it. And again, to our residents, 0-0 by the feds in the province. We get worked over every which way we look. I just want to share that with you. And I know that if you put 8-inch pump in the ground and you put 10 inches of fill of water, it's not going to work. We're going to flood, right? So you can bore a hole or you can drill a hole, but whatever's taken in that hole, it better be big enough to make sure we don't flood. And that's a $1 million question. So we've been had again. And I think it's time for us to go back and do a bit of a check, because we get used and abused by everybody that's using us. And now we got $1 million in Grayling Terrace, and we got 11 million up the hill. That's just 2 projects. We don't have much luck with drillers. Thank you.
Councillor Grandison.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought it was further down the queue. Just a quick question related to this project and this is runoff from the hill, I'm assuming you had indicated primarily. And how much greater influence of that runoff occurred as a result of the fire? Like, have we missed an opportunity back in the day when we were getting the DRP funding from the province to actually address this issue, when a part of it is related to the fire? Did we miss that opportunity?
I think the fire has something to do for sure, because we lost lots of trees, and that, basically the trees absorb the water, and we don't have that, anymore. And that's where you have increase, on flooding as well. So for a number of years, not just now.
Fair enough. And I ask that question not because I think our administration should have a crystal ball. I don't. I mean, I think as we learn, we had this disaster, and, the DRP funding's been kind of wrapped up, but I think we always need to keep a running record in the event that something like that happens again, to make sure that we're doing our due diligence at, kind of what are the long-term effects that we may not have thought of at that time. So that was one question. My second one is the space allocation, or the space planning software, increase there. That seems like, and I get with modern world and technology, we spend a lot of money on software and everything, but it's a fairly significant increase. And from what I understand, we used to have this software. I remember we used to, plug it in, and I moved the whole department within the municipality at one time, and it was all there. So what happened to were we renting that software? Did it go away? We can't use it anymore?
Through the chair, the company that used to support that software was actually purchased out by another company, and therefore they were not able to support the software anymore. And the next company that was able to provide the software, I believe this was a new software package that we went to market for. The second company was $100,000 higher than what they estimated the budget to be at.
And I saw that, and thank you. I did see that in the report. It said that. I was just wondering what happened to the existing software that we actually already had. Like, I just
through
don't
the
understand.
chair, applications often require upgrades. I don't have the details of this particular application. I would be speculating, but generally speaking, over time, they are no longer supported, do you get increased issues with applications failing? And over time, you do need to replace your application software.
It's quite the market those software developers got. Planned obsolescence, and then you buy a new one. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Grandison. Councilor Ball?
Thank you through the chair to the presenters. I guess this is about the Grayling Terrace one. I think you can appreciate that there's some concern relative to the policy and the fact that this is really a notification as opposed to an ask. Although we keep being told that we're asking for this additional $1 million. My question is, so the budget was originally designed under HDD as the methodology, but we've been told now that that's incorrect. So there was obviously a mistake made on the early onset of this, but did we investigate open cut? Is that an option?
Through the chair, we did not.
Is there a reason why? Open cut's probably going to be the cheapest.
I think the proper method that was used is the machine.
That's the most expensive method. I don't know about proper. I mean, open cut, you can control the grade. It's right there. It's below your feet.
Through the chair, maybe I shouldn't say proper, but I say the required method there because of the slope stability and otherwise.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I'm asking, did we investigate open cut? But you said you didn't, so.
We did not.
All right, fair enough. That's all I've got to ask.
Councilor Benjoko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if this is a comment or a debate, but I just want to ask if the impact of this project on the neighborhood, on the existing properties, the fear of flooding, safety, and those considerations, and if all this has been put into consideration, there's assurance for the existing residents of Grayling.
Through the chair, I think we researched the safety and the vibration and other things that might actually impact the residents, and we are going to monitor the vibration and other safety issues, and this is in our mind during construction for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Benjoko. Do we have any other delegates to this item?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. We have no delegates.
Thank you. Can I have someone make the motion?
On this time.
Councilor Benjoko?
Actually, are they going to come back with checking some of the stuff and come back with it, or what? I can make the motion, but there are some questions that we asked, including the fact that this doesn't, as at now, meet the requirements of the fiscal responsibility policy.
Well, we have, after the motion's on the floor, we can have debate and questions after that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the 2022 Q3 capital budget fiscal amendments update as summarized on attachment 1, 2022 capital budget fiscal amendments dated September 30th, 2022 be accepted as information.
Can I have someone second that motion? Councilor Cardinal?
Is it on? Oh, there you go. Thanks. I second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any other further questions followed by debate points of council? Councilor Grandison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. I see the way the motion is written for acceptance. I got to tell you, it feels a little off to be making a motion on something that really we have no authority to make. Basically, the way the policy is, we really can't vote on it. The money's being spent, the decision's already being made, so it just doesn't feel right to do a motion for it, that's all. That's my comment related to it.
I think the motion on the floor is just accepted as information, so we're not voting on the actual budget changes. We're voting on we've received the information. Is what we're not allowing them to, we're not making a decision on the budget changes. We're accepting it as information. Sorry.
we get
Go ahead.
lots of information that we don't make motions for. It just, I think from a public perspective, it looks like we're making a motion to approve something we're not, that's all. And that's the reason I'm bringing it up.
Councilman Joko?
I'm not sure if we are going to discuss this today or no. It's just a question. Nothing else to discuss, right? This is to CAO or Mayor Bowman.
I can pass it over to the CEO, but I think on my interpretation of the policy is if there's no scope change, then administration can make changes to the budget as accordingly as the need for tenders. And that's what the policy that, and I don't know if it's the last council or the council before that, but another council did make that policy, and we're adhering to that policy. So if we want to make the change, we would have to change a policy moving forward. So I don't know if the CEO can address that or.
Okay. Can I say something before the CEO can just take it at once? I still go back to the submission does not meet the criteria. So if there's a mistake, it needs to be fixed, and then we can talk about other things.
Lori,
So-
if you check on, do you have the, in front of you, the package? I think what she's referring to might be a typo. It's package page 29 on the bottom of the Grayling Terrace drainage construction.
Yes.
And the space planning as well?
Yes, two of them, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think they're
It's only the-
possibly the fiscal responsibility policy criteria. There may be errors on those two unless they're.
Okay, so
Through the chair, I am 99.9% confident that both of these do fit the criteria. There was no scope change. But I will take this back to ensure that the paperwork is done appropriately.
Yeah, because I think what it is, it shows the fiscal responsibility criteria. And as Councilman Joko stated, it says yes, no, 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 no. But in order for this to be fiscal management policy amendment, the questions must answer yes, no, yes, no, respectively. So I think there's an error, just that might be a typo error in one of those.
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to, Councilman Joko? Those there?
I don't know. I need to be told
But is that what you're referring to, those
Yes.
line items? Okay,
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the first two, by the submission, don't meet the criteria, but the last one meets the criteria, even by the questioning at the bottom page of page 27. That is good, but 26 and 25 is saying we don't meet the projects don't meet the criteria to pass the fiscal management policy, but we should just take it. So that's the interpretation reading that.
Through the chair, in reading through the small print, where additional funding is required are the funds from a combination of savings from fully tendered projects, other uncommitted sources such as grant and offsite levies, and cash flow management with other capital projects. It does read no on the form, and it should have read yes. I do appreciate you bringing that forward. It's a point of clarity for ensuring our paperwork is properly filled out before it's submitted. I apologize for the confusion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Majoko. Again, are there any further questions of council followed by debate points? I'm not seeing any, so I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And any opposed? Do that again. Sorry, I'll recall that. All in favor? accepting this information? Okay, and any opposed? 3. That's carried with 3 opposed. So thank you, Lori, thank you. And thank you everyone for attending tonight's council meeting. Marcy Cho, Ken Compton, have a good evening. This closes all business for this evening. So.